What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Long Play Listening Party. I'm Howie Howard from Mr. Furious Records. This is part 2 of our show, listening to ID and Sleeper's album Displacement, with my co-host Nate, of course, Approach, and Carlos Ransom, aka Sleeper, aka Mad Awkward. If you haven't listened to last week's part 1 episode, we recommend you go back and do that for some context. As we remember Isaac Diehl, or ID, the vocalist on this record, we didn't really officially start this part 2 when we took our recording break. We were just talking about life and about Isaac, and it all just kind of tumbled into the show. And that was honestly kind of perfect. So I'm just going to drop you in. It's a little bit cold. The first voice you hear is Approach's, and we'll get around to the record. It's going to kind of start with life and Isaac and parenthood and all kinds of things. And we'll get into the music after a few minutes. So hope you enjoy it, and definitely go back and listen to part 1 either now and come back to this, or in either order. You do you. Enjoy the show.
I never realized until I started talking about Isaac, man. You know what I mean? And I'm not the most watery-eyed individual. Kids make you soft.
Dude, I cry all the fucking time now.
That's it, man. I get all these updates on my phone of Kai when he's little, and then I'm just like sitting there at work. People are like, "What's wrong with you?" And I'm like, "Nothing. This pepper on my sandwich is kind of spread." But Go ahead.
It's happening to me too, and I don't even have a kid.
Yeah.
So like, Yep. And it mostly feels good, I think, right?
Yep.
Like, it's a little weird. It's an adjustment.
Yep.
But isn't it great that we have the opportunity to feel these things where maybe our dads or our granddads
Bingo.
just couldn't access that?
Bingo. And it's great for Carlos's boys and my son. They can grow up in a world where they can express themselves that way, and we make sure, like, I don't hide that from him. You know what I mean? I'm like, a range of emotion and vulnerability is the human experience, and he should be able to feel that and engage, and, like, not grow up with all this congestion of, like, just shit that you have to repress.
Yeah, it's a waste of time. We grew up with a lot of toxic masculinity, and it's, we're shedding that ourselves and teaching our children not to even fuck with that, Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah, my kids are always like, "Dad's crying again. Why are you crying again?" Because I'm happy.
Yeah, that's 100%.
Sometimes,
like,
yeah.
That's 100%. It's like talking about Isaac and just all those times. It's like, even when we were gathering for his passing, like, I wasn't crying because, like, I'm sad because, like, I understand how things play out. You know what I mean? But I'm crying because, like, man, that dude brought a lot to my life, and then and that part you just kind of miss. You're like, dude, I just miss hearing that voice. It's not even like a sad thing. It's just I miss that fucking laugh that lit up the whole room. God, man, I just, and Carlos can tell you, because Carlos is like one of those people that I can comfortably sit and be quiet with and understand everything that's going on there. And Carlos can tell you that Isaac, like, they probably shared many a moments where no words were said. You know what I mean? Where, like, Carlos is doing his thing and Isaac's doing his thing, and they're just there. And Isaac was like one of those people that you could connect with that beautifully, where you could just sit around that dude for an hour and not say a word, and you're both in the moment. You know what I mean? Like, you're both there, and it's not many people have that thing, man. Not many people are dripping with the it. You know what I mean? And he didn't know that he had the it. He didn't know that. He'd tell you, he'd get to feeling good and be like, I'm fucking tight.
I'm a legend.
I'm a legend. But he was fucking right. He's right. Fucking that. I love that guy.
You know, we would take breaks without seeing each other. You know, when I quit making music, we didn't see each other, but like, you know, he'd be working at whatever restaurant, and I'd stop in and see him.
Yeah.
And it was always like no time had passed, and you know, this before he died, we hadn't seen each other or talked to each other in several years, and when I reached out to him, I tracked his ass down because that boy always had a different fucking number. Every week he had a different phone, a different number, and it was hard to track him down. You never knew how he was doing.
Yep.
We all had to like, hey, have you heard from Isaac? How's he doing?
That's how you and I would talk. Yeah. You and I would like hadn't talked in a few months. You and I would have like, it had been a few months or a little bit since we talked, and then I'd get that message from you, and it would always be, you heard from Isaac? And I'm like, you got Isaac's number? I'm like, yeah, it's this here or that. And you're like, I worry about that boy. Always. And I'm like, yeah, and that bond, because even when he came to town to see you last, he stopped over here thinking that John was here. And then, you know, Nikki comes up and's like, somebody outside. I don't know who's, and I come down. He's like, what is going on? I'm like, yeah, I'm here. I'm like, here's my son. Like, you know what I mean? He's like, I'm coming to see Carlos, and like, I thought I was stopping by to see John. And I'm like, no, man. And he's like, what? So, yeah, it was crazy.
Shit,
and then I was like,
I missed like a minute of that because my shit locked up. I caught the end of that.
Yeah, you remember that visit, but like, damn that dude, man. Just, dude, the freest.
Oh, dude, I bet that Jerett's gonna have a lot of stories about the Dead Minutes record, man.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to that. You know, it's a good record, man.
It really is,
dude. And so,
because did he go up to Seattle and get Isaac?
Mm-hmm.
And did they drive back to Dallas?
Yeah, I know there was some a trip, or at least one or two trips back to and from Seattle.
Yeah.
I think he helped them move up there, maybe.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah,
that sounds right. See, Nate, you got a whole. When you guys were all up in the studio up there, you have a whole nother Isaac experience because you were there when he started like playing the acoustic guitar heavy and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't around a whole lot when they were recording because it was basically when, nobody was at the studio.
Yeah.
But, I was, and now it's not, weird or anything, but I was just like, wow, dude, like Isaac he can fucking sing, and then, he came up with some cool shit. He wrote some cool songs.
Yep. And he just like seamlessly, us knowing him, knew where his music tastes were. And they were all across the board. So none of this was surprising. I remember people be like, ID's like, and I'm like, yeah, that's Isaac, man. You know what I mean? I'm like, this is him the whole time. But you don't know, you wouldn't know that if you weren't. But like how he just seamlessly was like, all right, I did the last Archetype show, and then he pops up, and it's like, I would do the New Year's Eve shows, and they did the tribute to, and he was singing that. Guided by Voices. Yeah. And they did the tribute to that, and he was just like, one thing's here, I'm on to the next thing. There was no reminiscing, or there was no like, hey, I'm retiring from this, or there was no hoop, there was nothing. It was just like, now you see me, now you see me, now you see me. This is what I do,
Isaac and I both had punk and hip hop influences, and Isaac loved the Replacements.
Yep.
And it was like, we meshed well because of that, for sure. And then it was no surprise that he picked up a guitar, and then that was like right after, like right when I hit a point where I was frustrated with the music industry. Was going through some weird shit at that time, and I was frustrated with music in the way of like I wasn't making shit that I was happy with, and also I wasn't happy with how the industry was going, and we were getting fucked over by Mush Records, and I was like, you know what, I'm done. And I picked up a tattoo magazine and realized that I had neglected my tattooing for way too long. I was like, holy shit, I got some catching up to do. So I told Isaac, I was like, man, I got to stop. I gotta step away because I can't do both. It's either I'm kind of like at that point it was all or nothing, and I had so much catching up to do that I was just like, man, I have to step away, and I'm sorry, but I got to do what makes me money, and I still love it, so I have to do it. And so I focused on my tattooing, and I did that and opened up my own studio. And it wasn't until 2019 that we reconnected and talked about working again. So this was like what 2000. My Mush put out my solo album in 2009, and that was it. Like after that came out, like I was like, fuck that album, I'm done. Like fuck all this. And yeah, it wasn't until 10 years later, we start talking again, and it's fucked up to like think that I missed all of that, like 10 years of Isaac. I wasn't going out to shows, I wasn't doing shit. I would rarely talk to Isaac. I was hyper focused on being a good business owner and a good husband and father.
Yep. You had to though, man. You had to. There just comes those times. I mean, I'm there now. You know what I mean? Where I'm like, the reality of what I have to do is right in front of me. And I got to be the best at that. You know what I'm saying? But you, me, and Isaac were about to make a fucking kick-ass record, weren't we?
Yeah.
2019, we're about to make a kick-ass record. You and I are going to make that record, but we all three of us were going to make that record, man. We were going to, damn it.
Yeah. We were talking every day. It was like I found him, I tracked his ass down, and he was in Kansas City, and it was like perfect timing because he was going through shit there, and it was just like perfect that we had reconnected at that time. And we had plans, and we reminisced, and like I said, we talked every fucking day, and then COVID happened.
Yep.
And we couldn't see each other. We couldn't work on shit because he had no ability to record anything himself.
That's the other crazy thing about him. He was in that studio and taught himself how to use that board, like learned some stuff, and then taught himself how to use that board. Then he got like a tape, a Tascam Porta studio for me, and just started churning out all this stuff.
Yeah, he did start using. He was. When we were talking, he didn't have anything to record on. No. But then I later got my hands on the shit that he recorded that is on our last album that will be put out. But
yeah.
Ooh,
and it's so that last project.
So it's not out now. There's something sort of in the works to finish that off.
Yeah, it's done. I mean, it's a mixture of, it's 7 songs, and it's a mix of stuff that we recorded back in the day that never got put out, that was lost. Isaac would record so much shit that he would record. Sometimes he would record over the same beat. He would do 2 different songs.
Yep.
So like one of those is like, okay, here's the version I thought would be best over that beat. And then I had to make a new beat for the other version. Yeah. And then he recorded shit where there were 3 or 4 other songs that he recorded that he would tell me about, like, hey, I got stuff recorded to that. And I'm like, well, where do I find it? And he's, it's online somewhere. Like he was
yeah. That's like his last 2 albums that are up there. He's like, dude, you did like 5 beats on there. I'm like, 5 beats on what? And he's like, oh, find it. Ask Jerett. He knows where it's at. Legendary Jerett Lee. He'd be like, he'd put it up. And Isaac would be like, he would record like 4 Carlos songs on the Porta studio, and then like a song, like, so it'd be a tape of like various, just because he was always working with like 10 producers too.
Yeah.
He just would find beats he loved. So you have to like, I think Jerett went through the labor of like, Jerett Lee went through the labor of like sifting through the tapes, because he had a bunch of stuff on his portable digital recorder. So Isaac was just like recording, but where you would find what he did with your stuff could be like 4 or 5 tapes in, or somebody else's studio. You'd be like,
Yeah. I ended up with that box. So I ended up with that digital recorder and the box of CDs and tapes. And there's so much shit in there that I have no idea who it is.
Yeah.
I have no idea who produced the music to it or who the band was. There's just so much music.
Yeah.
Like, you just have to put it up and have like an open call, like, hey, listen,
like, who is
what's yours?
Yeah. It's a weird thing when someone's not here, because you don't know what they wanted you to share. You know what I mean? And it gets really tough, because like Carlos, like yourself, Howie, like Nate, I mean, any album I usually put out is years old. You know what I mean? So like the albums I'm put out, I record along. There's so much of it, and it's like I probably only want 1% of that to be heard. You know what I mean? And then the rest of it is just to figure out. And I know Isaac was like that. Where Isaac's like volumes and volumes of great stuff, and he's like, I don't want anybody to hear that. He's like, I'm bearing my soul on this. I don't want nobody to hear that. I'd be like, okay, I understand.
But then later he would be like, oh yeah, that's good. That's actually really good.
That's why I'm a legend.
Since I heard Caitlin Conroy say, like, at her funeral, she just wants people to hand out like little USB drives and tell people, like, just fucking listen to this.
Yeah.
That's all she wanted you to do. Yeah. So take this home and listen to it.
Yep.
And that's what I'm gonna do.
Yep.
And make sure whatever merch this, like, take this home, wear this shirt, listen to this record.
Yeah. I think
Isaac wasn't all that good at promoting himself.
No.
And neither, I'm not either. I never have been. But it was like, I would usually end up being that person. Like, dude, we have to. I was the person sending shit out and getting stuff pressed up and hand making the albums.
You're the reason why you guys were on Mush, man, and like all of that stuff. But the belief in it was so passionate that you were like, even for you, where like it's like pulling your insides out to make you say, hey, look at me. But you knew you had to. You're like, if I don't do it, only our peer group is gonna listen to this, and it deserves to be heard. And I'm glad you did, man. I mean, KJ used to play Hungry Ghost like it was man. They played that thing like I was feeling like I didn't know the guys who created it. They played it so much. I'm like, this is good. Come from, I'm like, oh, you were there, like, but that always the toughest thing with ID is like just made such great music, and he was over it quick. Like the mood would hit him, and he'd be like, nobody wants to hear this. And then, like you said, he would come back later and be like, yeah, man, that's what we all thought.
Yeah. whenever we started talking again in 2019, we were both, because of us talking again, we started going back and listening to our shit that we hadn't listened to in years, and we were both, one day I remember talking to him about With Fixed Hands, which was the last album that we did, and we were both just feeling like that was the best thing we ever did together, and at that time it felt like that really at all.
Yeah,
that album was more of like, I was focused on my solo album for Mush, and I was making some weird shit for that, and then I occasionally I would be like, okay, I need to work on, just something that just sounds nice, and I would pass those beats on to Isaac, and that's how that album started. That developed. And we felt we were talking about how it was the best thing we did.
Yeah.
But I think this new album is the best thing we did.
Man, the new album is the best thing.
I just wish it was longer. Wish we had more time. That's what he said to me that last day I saw him. It's like, man, I know. Chaos will break soon. Let the light reveal what's right. Unveil the truth. The chaos will break soon.
I mean, and that goes back to what you guys were saying earlier about just that relentless drive to create, right? I mean, I'm listening to you talk about him, but I almost feel like, what am I trying to say? There was never going to be enough time, right? Like, 90 years was not going to be enough. 100 years was not going to be enough. And that's not, I'm not trying to sugarcoat anything by any means, but
no,
I'm just trying to say that says something about the man, right?
Yep.
That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Like, his capsule work was supposed to be as it is. As unfair as it is to, lose your brother, lose your family, lose, he, it's better when you slide. I'm giving all eyes these visions of in his life. You knew that, like, he was living it the way he wanted to live it till the wheels fell off. Isaac was like, he was doing it the way he wanted to do it, And I've never been around. I said it earlier. I'm not that free. You know what I mean? I wish I was. I wish I was more free to, like, do all the things that are inside my head. But Isaac was free, man. He wasn't worried about. He was free to be him, and so that's where we get all this beauty, man. You know what I mean? Because it was like complex man.
I feel like if he would have kept living a long life, that we would have done the same thing over again. Like, little segments in our lives, like we would have spent together and then taken a break, and he would have went off and did something else, and then we would have met
back to find his phone number, reconnected, and then
yeah. I mean, that was gonna be the cycle, right? That was gonna be because that's D. That's who he was. He needed it's just as creative as he was. He needed his space away from everybody. He required that too. He required his time to kind of like do the thing that made him so him,
Yeah.
We're all kind of like that, aren't we, Carlos?
Yeah.
We all kind of require, like, as much as we care for each other, we all require a certain amount of space.
Yeah.
and we respect that. That's the cool part.
Yeah.
I think you and Maya's bond is very much like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say we have the same thing.
Yep. Same exact way. It's like I might not see you for a year, and it's like I saw you yesterday.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We talk a lot now, you know, but all of this put you and I right back where we needed to be.
Yeah.
You know?
We're all brothers. That's what
it is, man. Exactly what it is.
Yeah.
I have a very, very similar relationship. Like, it's like Nate's like my right-hand man. This is probably the period of time where we talk a lot, but not like how we used to. You know what I mean? Even though we talk all the time. And it's just because we're both growing. Nate's like growing, and like I'm growing, and we're figuring all that stuff out. But the mutual respect for brotherhood, just like nothing interferes with that. You know what I mean? It's just like my dude's growing, give him room to grow, root him on. You know what I mean? And he does the same here. He's like, man, my dude's figuring this fatherhood shit out, man. I gotta cheer that dude on. You know, Nate, bro.
We need cheered on.
Oh man, me and Carlos just get together and we're like, these kids are crazy. What is going on?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a whole other. That's a whole other layer of complexity, because I know how what kind of internal like desire you have to, you know, it's like,
yeah, man.
You try to realize that, you know, what your situation is, and accept it, and you know, make the most of what it is. But sometimes it's hard not to feel bad about yourself because you're not doing what it is that makes you want, you know, able to be present in somebody, you know, like, and to have that, you know, to have that kind of refresh, you know, refuel to take on, you know, everything else that you do in your life.
That's you nailed it, man. And you know, right at that point right there, man, hey, I have to step away, but like, Carlos, I love you, man. Howie and Nate, I love you guys. Isaac, I love you, Isaac, man. We're gonna keep doing what we need to do to make sure that like everyone else can see the beauty that we caught.
Yeah, we'll have you all back for Dead Minutes or Tigerfish.
Absolutely. All right, so let me go.
It's the same thing, right?
Take care, Sean.
All right, brother. Y'all have a good one.
All right, man. Later on. This is too vague, right?
Yeah. Totally different version than the Rain Closet version. Everything was different between those except for Hungry Ghost. Hungry Ghost was exactly the same. We felt that Hungry Ghost was perfect how it was. There was no re-recording of anything that needed to be done.
It's good to find one just so you know it's possible, right? Just to kind of calibrate and be like, okay. Sean left before I could say Nate, but like, his music's been coming up in my shuffle a lot, partially because a lot of his songs are the right length. I do a timed workout, and a lot of his songs are like the perfect time to kind of come up, and I'm having a lot of fun listening to the beats and like thinking, I hear a key part and I'm like, well, is that Nate? Is that Nate? I'm trying to pick out, which ones are you.
I can't pick him out anymore usually. I mean, Sean, he stepped his T game up pretty big time, so sometimes it's hard for me to even like. I try to challenge myself, even if it's just a little tiny part somewhere. Something that isn't just bullshit, right? But I mean, it's sometimes it's real hard to think of something that you want to play. Sometimes I'm just like, dude, it sounds good. I don't need to try to, make it sound like add this stuff to it. But yeah, it's funny that you say that though. I can't pick him out sometimes.
Yeah, and a lot of times I don't know, but I'll hear little things. Some of them I'm definitely sure. Like, oh yeah, I hear a little flourish or something. It's like, yeah, that was a Nate. It's fun.
So we put ourselves here. Blood soaked, soiled, bound by the flesh, desecrated, violated, and left. Blood soaked, soiled, bound by the flesh.
I guess to bring it back, Carlos, there's a lot of, in your beats on Displacement specifically, are you sampling a lot of sounds? Are you creating sounds with keyboards, or what are you building these from?
Mostly samples, some created sounds.
So a mix.
Any live instrumentation at all?
I mean, I think I did a little bit on this. I think I was just introducing that into it. And then in the crawl space, it was very rampant, But, yeah, I mean, and Rain Closet had more turntablism in it as well.
I was just wondering because the drums sound like a live drummer, man.
I sampled a lot of live drums and would manipulate them and ran through a lot of pedals and just made them. I like my shit grimy still. So, my choice of samplers back then were an SP12 Turbo and SP202 Dr. Sample and just like a MPC 2000 XL as far as hardware goes. At that time, there was Boyle's Joyland Flea Market was where I was getting a lot. Like most of the records I would use, I got from that place, and I would go like once a week or once every couple weeks and buy 20 to 40 records and bring them home and just have a blast.
Yeah. So we talked about it earlier, I think. Did you say, did you use acid, or what are you using now, like for production?
Now it's primarily hardware, which is, it's, I don't know. I guess I found the right hardware for me. I was always trying, I really like the SP12. I just can't, it got to a point where I was like, I can't afford those anymore. I found one back then. I found one for $300, and it had some serious issues, and I was unable to fix those at that time. Nowadays, if I would have kept it instead of selling it, I could have looked online and figured out how to fix it. But back then, I was just like, well, I'll sell it on eBay, and I ended up selling it for $170, and now they're going for 2, 3, 4 grand, you know.
That's the SP12 or SP1200.
It was the SP12. It had 5. It was an SP12 turbo and had 5 sound system. And I had a old Commodore 64, like real floppy disk drive that would hook up to it. That took forever to save stuff. But usually I would just sample into it, and I would make it would the SP12 will save all your sample, you know, save everything. So you didn't have to save it to disk, but you'd have to finish what you were working on, and then, you know, get that out of there, dump it onto a computer, and then start over.
Jeez. Yeah, like 3750.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at
$26.99, $3,000.
They are so fun to use, and I was thinking about buying another one, but then I went with the S2400 that Isla Instruments put out. But you know, as I was waiting for my pre-order to show up, I ended up buying a Chord micro sampler, and it was just kind of the tied me over until I got the S2400. But I ended up loving it so much that when I got the S2400, I didn't even want to really touch it, and I felt really bad because I'd waited all that time. But you know, if something works for you, then
right,
use it.
No, I've seen these. Like, it's a vocoder and.
The Chord
is there a sequencer on there too?
Oh yeah, it's a sampler sequencer. It's pretty limited, but those limitations are fun to work around.
Yeah. Okay.
Time's up.
But I found that what I make on that is I'm much happier with than I've ever been with my music. So I still love the sound of like that gritty sound, the aliasing, and you know, some grimy 16-bit, 12-bit sampling. So I'll use my SP 303 to take a lot of samples, and then I store my samples into my computer. So I'll sample through hardware, store them into the computer, and then dump them onto my hardware. You can dump your samples onto the Chord micro sampler with a little program that comes with it, and it's really nice. You just drag them onto with whatever key you want to drag it onto.
Yeah, I love those. I love that when you can connect them USB and they've got that little, you know, whatever program it is, and you can just kind of organize your stuff like however you want to. So, I mean, I like that. Like, super convenient. The Hydrus has that, and the Hydrus it also has like something where it's just like it'll just you can set the speed that it does it, but it'll just slowly go through the parameters and just change them. So once you get to something that sounds like dope, you can like save what those settings are and then save the patch. It's crazy, man. What things do these days, man. It's fun to try out different gear and just when you find something that works, it's nice not to have to worry about, you know, wasting time on figuring out what what could I get that would be fun. You know, it's like I don't need anything. I'm good as like right now.
Yeah,
I like that.
You know, I'm still running Windows XP. And so, you know, I've tried to upgrade and I just can't do it. It's like I run this old ass computer and it's what works for me. And
I mean, the only limitations about that sometimes, I guess, is, you know, if you're using up to, you know, current software and stuff, they'll update their shit, so it just eventually comes incompatible. But if you've got shit that you're used to working with forever, I mean, I don't know, like it's easy to be 5, 6, 10 years behind where everybody's at in terms of like machines, because it's not even worth it sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, it's
if it's not broke, don't fix it, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Right. And, you know, it's the only thing I can run that software that I am confident in using, and, you know, my workflow is best with that software, so I just stick with that operating system, because I'm still running like Cool Edit 2.0 and Acid 3. So, you know.
It's fantastic.
That is awesome.
But really, you know, I don't even use Acid hardly anymore. It's just I'll use Cool Edit occasionally, but it's mostly just hardware, and I'll master shit through like T-Rax. You know, that's about it.
There's some T-Rax stuff that isn't really bad. You know, they have those specials every now and then, so I have like a handful of their stuff. And I don't have any complaints with it.
Yeah.
I think as a matter of fact, I probably, you know, that's something that was available to me before a lot of other, you know, more serious stuff was around or whatever. But it fucking works.
Yeah. My friend Mike's always trying to hook me up with all these plugins and new software, and I'm like, man, I can't run it. I can't. I don't even know how to run it.
Yeah.
I could, you know.
It probably would not be compatible.
Yeah.
Just because of how, you know, where everything is now when it comes to that. They don't think about fucking Windows anymore. I don't think.
Yeah.
I mean, that might be a hyperbole or exaggeration, but really, I mean, you don't hear about that.
Yeah.
No, I agree completely. I mean, use what works. My mastering limiter is the free version. The developer is one guy. He went then to work for TDR, who makes nice stuff as well. But I still use the free version of his mastering limiter that he put out before he even worked there, when he was just a guy with a PayPal account or whatever. And it's the best, like, overall mastering limiter, clipper, you know, that final stage. I don't see any reason to go with anything else. It works perfectly. And it sounds great.
Yep. Yep. Every once in a while, I'll try something new, and like, no, going back to what I know.
Yeah. If it's not helping the music, then
no.
You know, what's the point?
Yep.
Did we listen through Hungry Ghost already?
Yeah, that just played.
Okay, but that's the one that you didn't re-record or anything.
Right.
That's just how it is. Okay, that's how it was.
Yeah. It just sounds slightly better because it's a better master on the Displacement version.
Yeah. That last one was Into the Sun, which I would assume is just an interlude.
To Stranger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the A song on that quote unquote side A. So that's the end of the music, but and you know, and I have to be honest with you, I had not heard this record yet, and I'm glad I have now. I mean, I you know, it's not that I thought. I mean, it just I hadn't heard it. So I love doing this show sometimes too. It's just like I felt like it's something that you need, and there's more. And the thing is, it's like there are more tracks on this, and
yes.
It's up on your Bandcamp. So we've listened to 15 tracks, but how many tracks are on it?
I don't even know.
Oh, it's close to 30 with all the Rain Closet and some remixes and stuff. It's like close to 30, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's up on your Bandcamp for $7. So, if you're looking for, some great music to listen to and bang for your buck, that $7 is going to get you, 2 or 3 albums worth of.
Yeah, there's a lot to dig into, and it's.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd obviously be worth it just for the album itself, because the album itself is such a world. I mean, it's just a whole cinematic is like overused and everything, but you really it's a whole environment that your ears drop into and live in. That's pretty special. I love that.
Thank you. Yeah, everything we did together, that was pretty much the goal.
And you said there's even more coming out, like 7 more tracks coming out.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to definitely check those out when they come out.
Will that be on the ID and Sleeper Bandcamp? Is that where people can find it when it's ready?
Datura is gonna put it out.
Oh, sweet.
Oh, okay. Wait. Do you have a like an ETA or a?
They said fall, and this was like beginning of the summer. They said maybe fall, early winter, but we'll see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Coming up. Enough time. Listeners, you can absorb what's out there, and just kind of get ready and marinate in it for a while. And by the time you've kind of gotten your head wrapped around some of the stuff that's out, maybe it'll be ready. So.
Yeah.
Carlos, I mean, did we? I know we can't touch on everything, but is there anything big that we missed that you want to say, or that we ought to touch on before we call it a night here?
No, I mean, there's so much. Yeah, there's so much you could say about Isaac, and
But this won't be the last show where we talk about Isaac and listen to, what he's put out, and kind of just celebrate him a little bit, man. I mean, there's plenty of reasons to do that, and so whenever we do that, man, you're definitely come back and hang out.
Hell yeah,
share some show stories, man. Like, that'd be cool.
Hell yeah,
for sure. Well, Carlos Ransom, thanks for coming on. Carlos and Isaac Diehl are ID and Sleeper, idandsleeper.bandcamp.com. Tons of links in the description. Someone set up a very nice SoundCloud for Isaac. I'll link to Jerett's video, just everything I can find. So check out all that stuff. Carlos, thanks again. And this has been the Long Play Listening Party. Later, everybody.
Peace.
Are you hungry like me? Are you hungry like me? I sit in my room, thought consumed. Try not to worry about personal things now, but stay in tune. I'm in no hurry to work the scheme out, right and foolproof. I perfect the swing, right like I used to. Some say I'm missing the light, true. I've played hooky from life, and now it seems I've got myself in a bind. But everything will be alright, I know there's been countless times when I was down, I'd rise to higher ground alive. Without a sound and rhyme, I guess now it's combined with power behind it. But how is it mine when there's too much out to decide? You better have your own thing going. Bullshit aside, man, choose it just right and do it with pride. And you just moving a line, treat it cold and unkindly. You know this while mine reaches those on high peaks and souls on low life conditions. I pivot on points, no others hold my position. I'm one of an only kind, giving the soul to breathe life in the rhythm. In a moment like this one, I recognize ambition and drop all conditions. Cause I don't wanna make mine something it isn't. I want a life to live and I wanna share my vision. Don't wanna lose my spirit in the wind. I want a life to live and I wanna share my vision. Don't wanna make mine something it isn't. So let me know. Are you hungry like me? Hungry, not for some purpose or reason, but just to be human beings like me. Yeah, it's really for me, and I just hope you can see it like me. For those sitting in hunger and watching for wonder. Hungry. If you give enough, then it all can become yours. Not for some purpose or reason, but just to be human beings. For those sitting in hunger and watching for wonder. Not for some purpose or reason, but just to be human beings. Are you hungry? Are you hungry like me? You can wander away, stay lost in the daze, suffer in silence, explode in a rage, trying to control fate, or let your soul fade with an Novocaine and remain so blank, or show your strength and flow with grace. Whether I travel the globe or go no place, I hold the same, I know space, and I know the game. I don't wait, but for those facing cold days at a slow pace, it's so great, but hope remains. So let us choke this pain away and roll straight towards the great open range of art. Start your planes and embark, though you may not catch what I'm saying if your pitiful aims are only concerned with the trivial and mundane. What are you worth, and why would anybody spend this time for revision and to refine misty-eyed renditions of given? See, I'm not living, I can't share my vision, and I don't wanna make mine something it isn't. I want a life to live in, I wanna share my vision. Don't wanna lose my light in the wind. I want a life to live in, I wanna share my vision. I don't wanna make mine